Everyone, if you could please have a seat. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome Father Reggie, who will lead us in our invocation.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Father Reggie, and I have the privilege of serving as the rector of St. Aidan's Episcopal Church here in Milton. And as we gather on this All Souls Day to commemorate those who have died either this week, this day, last year, or within the past 20 or so years, today we commemorate them. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Almighty God, with whom still live the spirits of those who die in the Lord, and with whom the souls of the faithful are in joy and felicity, we give you heartfelt thanks for the good examples of all your servants, who, having finished their course in faith, now find rest and refreshment. May we, with all who have died in the true faith of your holy name, have perfect fulfillment and bliss in your eternal and everlasting glory. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Reggie. And now I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, November 1st, 2021 to order. The city strongly recommends that you review tonight's agenda carefully, and if you wish to speak on any item on the agenda, please bring your comment card to the city clerk as soon as possible to my right. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards will be accepted. So now if I can ask the city clerk to please call roll and make general announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the November 1st, 2021 regular meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to the speaking on the item. Your comment card must be presented to the city clerk prior to the agenda items being called. All speakers, please identify yourself by name, address, and organization before beginning your comment. If you are representing an organization, an affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. Please review tonight's agenda, and if you would like to make a comment, please bring your comment card to me now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Paul Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Laura Bentley. Here. Councilmember Carol Cookerly.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Longoria.
Here.
And Councilmember Rick Morrig.
Here.
Mayor Lockwood.
Okay, tonight we are honored and privileged to have the Sons of the American Revolution here to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Would everyone please rise?
Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I want to welcome everybody here tonight. We appreciate you being here. We've got a few proclamations we'll be presenting tonight. First, we've got to take care of a little bit of just business with our agenda and whatnot, but we'll move through that real quick, and then we'll get to our proclamations. So, Tammy, if I'd move to the agenda.
Yes, sir. It's approval of meeting agenda. Agenda item number 21318. Mayor.
Okay, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, I'll open for a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as prepared.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Morrig with a second from Councilmember Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, next item is public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do, Mayor.
Okay, the general public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Please remember, this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone, stating your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes for remarks. The city encourages you to review the agenda, and if you wish to speak, to bring your comment cards to the city clerk right now, to my right. Okay, I'll open up for the first speaker.
I'll invite Kristen Muzinik to the podium to speak.
Hi, good evening, City Council. My name is Kirsten Muzinich. I am a resident of Milton. I have two things that I want to bring.
Excuse me, ma'am, just for the record, do you mind stating your address?
Sure, 16720 Quayside Drive, Milton.
Thank you.
I have two things that I wanted to bring to you all this evening. One was kind of a concern. The other one was a thank you. So I'll start with the concern. Trash services in our neighborhood in Kingsley Estates has been not consistent with Waste Management Trash Services. I understand that they bought out another company in the month of March this year, and it was a little bit rocky with the merging of the two companies. It's now been 9 months, and our trash service has not been picked up consistently. I have a hard time getting a hold of people at customer service. I'm getting overcharged for things, and then their billing cycle seems to be off. So just recently, last week, we were supposed to have trash pickup on Thursday and, Wednesday. Friday, the trash cans were not picked up. I was told that a trash truck broke down, which is understandable, and another truck would come by 6 p.m. on Friday. It did not arrive. We had Halloween. We have very narrow roads in our neighborhood, and all the trash cans were out. On Monday now, when I left here at 5:40, trash cans still hadn't been picked up. So I'm paying for service that I'm not getting. Trash cans are sitting out, piling up. And I just wanted you to be aware that Waste Management Services seems to be having what seems to be now a chronic condition with their service in the city. So thank you for hearing that. My second statement, which is a happier statement, I wanted to say a big thank you to the City Council and to the Parks and Rec Committee and to the Mayor. Thank you so much for having the wisdom and the vision and the stewardship to create Lackey Road Green Space. That is going to be the most amazing property, and it's going to be a legacy that Milton leaves for future generations. So again, I just want to say a thank you. I can't wait to go see it and visit it with my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, do we have any more public
That
comment?
concludes our public comment, Mayor.
Okay, then I will move on to the consent agenda. Tammy, if you'll please call the items.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first item is approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and Tizzy Liz Design, LLC, for graphic design services. Agenda item number 21319. Item B is approval of a professional services agreement with Policy Confluence, Inc., doing business as Polco and National Research Center, Inc., to conduct a Milton version of the National Community Survey. Agenda item number 21320. Item C is approval of a professional services agreement with Practical Designs Partners, LLC, for final design plans of the Mayfield Road Sidewalk. Agenda item number 21321. Item D is approval of a services agreement with Sweeping Corporation of America, Inc., for street sweeping services of approximately 47.22 curb miles of city streets. It's agenda item number 21322. Item E is approval of a professional services agreement with CPL Architects, Engineers, Landscape Architect, and Surveyor DPC for development of a personal transportation vehicle, also known as PTV plan, for Milton's Crabapple District. Agenda item number 21323. Item F is approval of subdivision plats and revision. The first development is Thompson Estates, located at 15055 South Thompson Road. It's land lot 548 and 605. It's District 2, Section 2. It is a minor plat to create 7 large lots ranging in size from 3.106 acres to 3.577 acres. A total acres of 23.119 with a density of 0.30 lots per acre. Our second development is Adam Haas at 2112 Birmingham Road, land lot 388 and 405. It's District 2, Section 2. It's a minor plat to combine Lot 2 and part of Lot 3 to form a single 5.57 acre tract, a total of 8.65 acres with a density of 0.35 lots per acre. Our third and final development is Brayburn Townhomes at 2031 Heritage Walk. It's land lot 1135, District 2, Section 2. It's a minor plat to supersede previously recorded plat in Plat Book 27, page 65. Plat is revised to convert 3 existing condominium lots into fee simple lots and create 6 new simple townhome lots. It's a total of 0.78 acres with a density of 11.5 lots per acre. It is agenda item number 21324. Item G and the final item is approval of the terms and conditions for the State of Georgia Public Safety Officials and First Responders Supplement Grant. Agenda item number 21325. Mayor Lockwood.
Okay, do I have a motion for approval on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as read, number 21-325.
Okay, do I have a second? All right, I've got a motion from Councilmember Cookerly for approval with a second from Councilmember Morrig. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Next, we're going to move on to reports and presentations, and I'll ask the clerk to please sound the first.
Mayor,
Item.
that first item is proclamation honoring late and beloved Milton resident, volunteer, mother, and wife, Kristen McNelly. Mayor Lockwood.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. I have the personal pleasure and honor of knowing Kristen McNeely and her family. And when her son Brendan called me after she passed away and wanted to do something in honor, just want to let you know how proud I am, and as well as our council, to be up here to be able to do that. I remember at Kristen's celebration of life, and I believe it was her father that mentioned something about he just couldn't believe how great the community was. The community was supporting the family and all of them, and just was going on and on about it. And I thought to myself, I said, you know, the word community and what we all envision our great community to be, I can't think of another person that wouldn't embody that more than Kristen. She was just all that. She was what everybody thinks is a great community member, you know, a great wife, great mother. You know, you drive by their house and all the kids are there. Everybody wants to hang out, volunteering at everything. Just a wonderful person. So again, it's an honor to be able to present this proclamation to her family. I know Brendan's also working on next year doing a 5K memorial run. So certainly want the community and we'll support that all we can. So thank you guys for being here. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then I'm going to ask family and friends to come up forward to present them as well as take a photo. So I have a proclamation here honoring the late Milton resident, volunteer, and beloved mother and wife, Kristen McNeely. Whereas Kristen, Leanne, and I'm going to have some help here. Chris, is it Clavac? Okay. Was raised in a small New Jersey town, attended and played basketball at the University of North Texas, then settled in Milton with a growing family in 2005. And whereas she was the wife of Chris and mother of sons Brendan, Alex, and Luke, all three of whom attended local schools, including Milton High. And whereas Kristen quickly and wholeheartedly immersed herself in our community, serving at Selbridge Mill Neighborhood's HOA president before building her dream house in Crabapple off Birmingham Highway. And whereas she selfishly volunteered in the front office at Milton High, supporting faculty, parents, and students, forging a particularly special relationship with a special needs child named Tate. And whereas Kristen had many hands-on roles in Eagle sports, such as helping with the Friday night dinners before football games and serving as an upbeat, positive presence at countless baseball games. And whereas after a battle with cancer, she passed away on May 16th, 2021. And whereas community was incredibly important to Kristen, who did all she could to be involved, give back, and make a difference in people's lives. And whereas to honor her loving legacy, the McNeely family plans to organize a 5K race next year to raise funds for causes near and dear to Kristen's heart. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Milton, honor the late Kristen McNeely and her contributions to a community she loved and who loved her back. And this is given under our hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on the first day of November 2021. One little thing I want to add about Kristen, I mentioned in the proclamation about building her dream home on Birmingham Highway across from Milton High School. And I believe she passed away, I believe it was a Sunday. Monday I was here in City Hall in a meeting, and I think I was meeting with community development and Bob and Robin and a couple of folks, and I just made a comment that I was particularly sad that day because we lost a great member of our community, and didn't expect them to know her or anything, and I just said yes, it was the lady that built the White House across from Milton High School. Now, any of you that have dealt with community development, now, granted, our community development folks are great, but usually you're not there because you're happy to deal with them. It's like going to court or something, The judge might be nice, but you're not happy that you're there. So it's usually not a pleasant experience, if that makes any sense, because you're getting told no or whatever. But so I just happened to mention that, and then I mentioned, the family that lived there, and Bob immediately says, "Oh, you talking about Miss McNeely?" And the whole staff goes, "What a pleasure she was to work with." And I mean, that's just, to me, that was that just speaks volumes for Kristen. She was that type of person. So again, what a great lady. I'm sorry we're here making this proclamation, but it's an honor to do that. If I could ask for Kristen's family and friends to step up here, and I'll present the proclamation. And the council will step up and stand up and take a picture.
There's a stool there, well, it was there. There was a little stool. There was a little stool. Come on around. Oh, come on around here. Y'all stay in the middle and we'll have your family kind of filter around you. Oh, thank you very much. You're my favorite person here tonight. Thank you.
I think everybody knows.
Can you guys back as far as you can? I'm sure you are. I'm gonna go a little bit to the angle.
So can you guys see what I mean when I said that Kristen was part of our community?
I don't want to see.
Pull a chair trick.
That would be bad.
Wow, Mayor, I didn't even know Miss McNeely, and I got emotional, so she had to be a fabulous lady. That was emotional. Oh, get it together. Do 8. Oh, yeah, I gotta do it. This is my own study time, so you can do 8. I'm gonna hear 8.
Okay, Tammy, if you would please call the next item.
Mayor, that's a proclamation recognizing Veterans Day. Mirlockwood?
Okay. This is another proclamation that it's an honor to present. So I have a proclamation recognizing Veterans Day and saluting Milton's veterans. Whereas, for over 100 years, November 11th, the anniversary of World War I's end, has held special meaning as a day to pay tribute to the heroes involved in that tragic struggle and to dedicate ourselves to the cause of peace. And whereas, after years of ceremonies marking this historic day, U.S. Congress passed an act in 1938 declaring the 11th of November should be a legal holiday and should be known as Armistice Day. And whereas, since then, the United States has been involved in other dangerous military conflicts, including World War II and in places like Vietnam and Afghanistan. And whereas, grateful Americans desire to honor all those who have served in the U.S. military led to a rethinking of November 11th significance and led to the 1954 renaming of the holiday as Veterans Day. And whereas Milton is home to many veterans who have fought valiantly in wars around the globe, dedicated to their missions, ideas, and service to their American people. And whereas we salute them and other American veterans who have fought so valiantly on land, on the seas, and in the air to preserve our heritage of freedom while working to promote enduring peace and for their sacrifices not to be in vain. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Milton, hereby call upon all of our citizens to observe November 11th, 2021 as Veterans Day, and given under our hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia on this 11th day of November 2021. And with that, I'd like to ask the Sons of the American Revolution to accept this proclamation, and then any other veterans that are in the room, if you'd please step forward. And we want to thank all of you for your service and your commitment, and also for being here part of this proclamation and presentation. So thank you so much. It means a lot.
It's right there in the corner.
All right, Tammy, if you'd please call the next.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is proclamation recognizing Native American Heritage Month. Mayor Lockwood.
Okay. This next proclamation I'm honored to present is a proclamation recognizing Native American Heritage Month. Whereas Native Americans were the first to explore and settle areas that now make up the United States, including what is now Milton. And whereas mountains and rivers, lakes and valleys, states and countries, trails and towns have Native American names that are lasting reminders of Native Americans' impact, history, and deep connection to this land. And whereas we can trace many foods that we eat and medicinal remedies we use to Native Americans, not to mention many roads and highways that follow Native American trails. And whereas today, Native Americans continue to make valuable contributions to American society, including literature, history, and arts that draw upon Native American themes and wisdom. And whereas countless Native Americans have served our community and nation in some way, including those fighting valiantly for our country as part of the United States military. And whereas Native Americans' part in our nation's history is even more in our minds during this Thanksgiving season, when generations of Americans reflect on the early friendship between them and the Pilgrims some 400 years ago. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Milton, hereby dictate and proclaim November as Native American Heritage Month in the city of Milton, Georgia. And this is given under our hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia on the 11th day of November, 2021. And if I had, do we have anybody in here to represent that I can, if you would please come forward. Council wants to come down. Got a couple people.
Hi there. Don't worry. You're good. There you go, Rick. Good job.
Okay, last but not least, Tammy, if you please call the next.
Thank you, Mayor. That
Item.
item is proclamation proclaiming November the 7th, 2021 as Retired Educators Day in Milton. Mayor Lockwood.
Okay, on our last proclamation, this is, as I said, last but not least, this is also an honor to present this proclamation proclaiming November 7th, 2021 as Retired Educators Day in Milton. And I shared the story right before the meeting that, we get a lot of, everybody gets a lot of kudos from Milton and people want to move to Milton. But I always have to give a lot of the credit is to our school systems, which are obviously our teachers and our students and our parents. And you guys have done such a great job that sometimes we catch a lot of grief because people are complaining about all the new houses. People want to move to Milton, but we've got such great schools and teachers. So whereas Georgia currently has over 120,000 teachers and even more people who spend their careers educating the state's school children before retiring. And whereas these teachers devoted countless hours to explaining, instructing, and coaching students on everything from algebra to literature to world languages, promoting and supporting their academic developments. And whereas retired educators played pivotal roles in young people's lives in and out of the classroom, helping them develop into good, well-rounded citizens. And whereas their impact has rippled across Georgia and beyond, given all they've done to shape and nurture students who have excelled in all walks of life and all over the world. And whereas, even after retiring, these former educators have remained active and valuable in their communities, including in different facets of the educational process. And whereas, Milton is fortunate to be home to many retired teachers and staff who continue to enrich our community in many ways. And whereas, we in the city wish to honor the many contributions to thousands of students and to Milton as a whole. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Milton, proclaim November 7th, 2021 to be a Retired Educators Day in Milton. And this is given under a hand and seal in the city of Milton, Georgia on the first day of November, 2021. And if you would mind stepping forward I'll present these proclamations. And if the council wants to join me.
Good. This is perfect. Okay. One.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Probably a good thing. She knew you could. I got you. All right. If we can move on to our next.
Yes, our final reports and presentation item, Mayor, is update on Crabapple Road streetscapes and pedestrian improvements, presented by Ms. Sarah Leaders.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Got a presentation tonight, again, on the update on Crabapple Road streetscape and pedestrian improvement project. So the overall components of this project included evaluating the existing conditions of Crabapple Road, conducted many site visits to look at the issues and concerns of that section of roadway, then to conduct stakeholder input, and we've held 3 rounds of outreach to identified stakeholders. Next, to propose improvements along Crabapple Road, and tonight we're here to present the final concept layout for improvements. Following tonight, the next steps will be development of the construction documents. That's going to be the plans and designs and preparing it to bid. And then finally to get a permit through Georgia Department of Transportation for the encroachment into the state route and to bid the project for construction. So as you know, Crabapple Road is a state route. So any improvements have to be reviewed and approved by Georgia Department of Transportation. So in tonight's presentation, we'll quickly go over the project history, the GDOT coordination and response on the improvements. Then Jennifer Harper from CPL, our consultant on the project, will talk about some of the streetscape options that we've discussed and present the project concept. And then I'll go over next steps and discuss any comments before we get ready to move forward with design of the project. So this timeline, we presented this in December of 2020. The top timeline is what was shown then. So we highlighted the prior planning efforts for this section of roadway. In April of 2020, we contracted with CPL to assist in the concept development. In August of 2020, we did our first round of stakeholder outreach. Then from that, developed a concept, conducted 2 meetings with DOT, and then presented a concept in December of 2020. And then the direction from that meeting was to go back to GDOT and further discuss some of the design elements, as well as talk about on-street parking. So the bottom shows kind of the steps that have happened since then. In May of 2021, we engaged with GDOT, some further conversations. In July of 2021, another correspondence with GDOT. We then updated the concept and went back to the stakeholders 2 more times in September and October. So then tonight, we're here to present the outcome of that stakeholder outreach, as well as further coordination with GDOT. So in July, like I said, we received an official response letter from DOT following up on we held some meetings prior to that. And that letter stated that the following enhancements are achievable for this section of Crabapple Road. And that includes a road diet, which is changing the 3-lane cross-section down to a 2-lane, 1 lane in each direction, repurposing the right turn lanes, the deceleration lanes, or a portion of those, constructing a center median in place of some of the left turn space that exists currently, looking at some possible access modifications, that's what's referred to as a curb cut closure, adding a bike lane on the section of Crabapple Road, a mid-block crossing, accommodating personal transportation vehicles, and that would be looking at some permitted crossing locations for golf carts, a parklet, which is the picture that's shown here. So instead of parking spaces, it would actually be dining or uses for those businesses right up adjacent to the roadway. And then reducing posted speed. They did note that they saw that as a potential in the future, but recommended evaluation following the installation of these enhancements. So make the improvements, and then with the anticipation that speeds will reduce, and then reevaluate the speed limits. The letter did state that they still did not support on-street parking on the state route. With this being a 2-lane road, 1 lane in each direction, there's no way in some other situations nearby where there is on-street parking on the state route, a lot of those have 2 lanes where there is an option to, when someone stopped to park, for a through vehicle to get around. So parking was off the table from this response. And now I'll turn it over to Jennifer Harper to talk about what we went back to the stakeholders with and some ideas we came up with for this streetscape area.
Mayor and Council, thank you for engaging us on this opportunity with your staff. We've thoroughly enjoyed working with your business owners and property owners along the corridor. I know the timeline seems very stretched out, but I think the result of that is that they all understand the goal here is to turn this side of the street facing their buildings as more of another front door. Let's enliven this street, and let's do everything we can do here to make sure that the vehicles traveling along that state route understand they're not the only user, and therefore slowing them down is the goal. So I think your stakeholders are all engaged in that and supportive of that, and we've gotten really good feedback, comments, and input from them, which you'll see in our plan. So what we are going to look at through this concept, and what we know GDOT will approve, is taking that blue area, which we had hoped could be on-street parking, and let's take that and make that into flexible space. We've proposed curb and gutter on the back of the bike lane, and then we have proposed a green space and healthy sidewalk on the corridor, all in front of the buildings. We are going to have to get the pedestrians across the street. I've been out there on probably 10 occasions now. And I'm intimidated to cross that street. So we need to give them a safe place to do that. In looking at the corridor, really middle block is the best place. It removes all the conflict points. So introducing that pedestrian crossing, which will have some sort of flashing mechanism, whether it be a flashing beacon or an overall hawk signal, give them a place they feel safe to cross and where the cars pay attention to them without any other movements going on. That bid block is a really good place for them to cross. You don't want to do it at the intersections where the drivers are doing other things other than looking at pedestrians. So we've introduced that and then looked at the turn lanes, the right turn lanes into the building. So this is what we're working from, which was building on the momentum of all your previous plans. We really haven't changed anything, just introduced some good things here for them to react to that will slow cars down in front of their businesses and actually give them a clear line of sight to the businesses. We talked a lot about landscaping and hardscaping in the plan. And so this is what we heard from them is you need to be able to see their businesses from the street. So we want to accomplish that as well. All right. So some of the visioning we presented to your stakeholders and we've also presented to you is what can we do with that space? And these are some of the images. Parklets, as Sarah described. I don't know if we're going to ATV park or golf cart parking, but it is an option if that becomes a desire. Again, we really want these businesses. I know that their front doors are their parking lots, but we really want this street to feel like another front door for them. So we've been using that language with them, and they were a little, hesitant when we first came to them, but now they are really talking about it and they're pointing to things and saying, well, what can we do here? And they're really engaged in this concept. So I think what we do in the public realm is what we have control over, but the success of this is that they really are starting to envision what they can do from their business door to the public realm, which is exciting. There's some other images, branding this street as Milton's brand. And this is the ultimate design that we would propose to a GDOT concept. It doesn't have the wahoo of all of these pictures, but what it does is have the sound engineering and meets the criteria of the DOT, which ultimately is going to have to sign off on this. But this space allows you to accomplish all of those things that we've shown you in those images. So again, we're introducing the turn lanes. We're putting in a mid-block crossing in a safe place with sight distance that we know is good location and good design. We're providing the sidewalk. We're introducing the bike lanes. And most of all, we've engaged the businesses and they're excited about this and they're already thinking what can they do on their side to marry with what we're doing in the public realm. So.
And all of these green areas are things that will, as we get into design, decide where there's pavers, where there's landscaping, that sort of detail will all be part of the design. And we will keep those stakeholders engaged throughout the process as we move into design. This is just the concept showing, the sidewalk and path location, the crossings, and the roadway modifications. So the details of the streetscape are going to be worked out with the stakeholders as we move forward. The next steps are, again, tonight to get any feedback on this concept we've just shown. Then we'll move forward with getting design services, preparing those construction documents for both the road elements, the turn lanes, the sidewalks, as well as the streetscape elements. So that's where there's landscaping and pavers. Then we'll submit for the DOT permit and move into construction. With that, I'll go back to the concept that we're proposing to move forward with and open it up for any discussion or feedback on what we're proposing here.
Yeah, open up to comments or questions. Rick?
Sarah, could you talk a little bit more about what GDOT is going to allow us to do with that crosswalk? Because I know we've been talking about how to safely get across and make it more walkable. What are our options, or what are the options you're considering?
So this will definitely have a raised median in the middle as a refuge point. I like this design that has come out of the concept that kind of offsets the crosswalk. So you do have a little more refuge space. As far as signalization of it, the initial design would likely be a rectangular rapid flashing beacon crossing. And then in the future, as the volumes warrant, we could look at like the hawk type signal. Jennifer, do you have any more? Is that what you were thinking as well?
It is, and it is warrant analysis just like any other signal. So you have to do the count, you have to look at the pedestrians and the circumstances here and design will determine what that is. But just in layman's terms, if you put a striped crosswalk out there, you get about 50% compliance. If you add the actuated beacon, which she's talking about, you get about 80% compliance. You go to the next phase, which is a hawk, which is an actual signalized crossing just for pedestrians. It only goes up to about 90% compliance. So that flashing beacon that we're talking about, which is probably where you're going to land here, gets you much higher compliance from your vehicles than you would get from just a regular striped crosswalk.
Okay.
Does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
and the other question has to do with when we're doing the construction, because this is going to take a lot of construction. Are we going to, Sarah, add the capability that if we want to upgrade later on, we're not going to have to dig up? Will we have things if we ever went to a signalization?
Yes, we definitely can look at that in design planning for the future signalization.
Laura?
So in this scenario, what would the speed limit be in that stretch? What would they be coming in at, stopping, and then what's the speed
So
limit?
your speed design is 35 miles an hour, and we would all like to see that lower. We would all like to see that be posted at 25, and we'd like to see vehicles going 25. As Sarah alluded to in this very long process working with the DOT, because this is a state route, they're not looking to reduce it to 25, and you're not really allowed to reduce it to 25 unless you actually have vehicles going that speed. So what we have to do is we have to physically slow down the cars, and then we can talk about reducing the speed. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but you cannot just change the speed limit on the roadway. You have to study the existing speeds, and you have to get those speeds down. So everything we're doing here, the visual cues, the enlivening the streets, the adding the mid-block crossing, everything we're doing is in an attempt to reduce the actual speeds. So then we have the opportunity to talk about speed reduction in the signage.
So is it kind of feels like it might be that, in downtown Alpharetta, the tables are really close to the street. Is that similar or? Yeah, because, when I look at how close some of those tables could be to the street, we better slow them down or else it's going to be exciting.
We're proposing landscaping. We're proposing landscaping and hardscaping and all of those things up next to the road. There is an option for parklets if there's an appetite for that, and you could get there in the design phase of this. But what we've proposed is that we would put the landscaping, the sidewalk, and then engage the businesses from the sidewalk to their front door. But there is an option to come out further.
And that's what these stakeholders, the business owners, were most in favor of, is that buffer, the landscape, then their zone that leads to their business.
Yeah, so we didn't have any requests to put that in front of any of the businesses. The requests from the businesses were more geared towards making sure that the plantings and the hardscape and the landscape areas didn't block sight to what's going on behind the sidewalk. But it's still on the table for design. DOT has said they are amenable to it. And it could fit here if there was an appetite for that.
And so you feel pretty confident that if you do those things, that the speed will get down to 20 to 25 in that zone so that we can, make it enforceable? Is that the way it has to, the process?
I am confident those cars are not going 35 today and that this is going to slow them down. What that's going to slow them down to depends on, some probably other changes that have to go on around here, around this particular section of roadway, that we can look at. But I mean, I can't say what that's going to do, that it's going to make them go 25, but I can say they're not going the speed limit today. And this is going to greatly reduce what they're doing today.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Paul?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you both for this work. It's terrific, and I think it's consistent with what we've been verbalizing for a long time. I think the process has been great because you've engaged everybody that are going to be the stakeholders that have and it's great that you're weighing that heavily into the outcome along with the challenges presented to us by the Georgia DOT. Hope we can marry that last part so we can take that last step and make it amenable to everybody. In all the concepts that you guys showed, there were some terrific depictions of other communities, and I think they were all terrific. There's only one that I would just comment on. It had a pretty cold feel. It was pretty much concrete. I'd love for us to stay away from something like that and introduce all the warmer concepts that were there, of which there were several to choose from, or several as examples, and just to endorse that kind of a look and feel for us. It'll create that softer, warmer, welcoming community that we have here. I also pose one more challenge to you in this. Knowing that 372 turns the corner and goes north to our roundabout, and with the vitality that we're seeing there with the schools and the kids and the crossings, and knowing that there are future businesses coming there, I look forward to this kind of softening and speed sensitivity approach being taken up there, so the people joining us as Crabapple becomes even more vibrant with the success of the businesses that we look forward to joining us, that we don't we'd solve a problem in one area and have a remaining problem somewhere else. I know it's not a part of this study, but I look forward to that being the next step. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to our first presentation items. If Tammy, please stay on those items.
So Mayor, we're going to go straight to new business. Okay.
Okay.
It's consideration of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Milton and the City of Alpharetta to waive non-resident fees associated with youth softball and youth lacrosse programming. It's agenda item number 21326. Our Parks and Recreation Manager, Tom McElveen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Back in May, I came before you with an MOU or Memorandum of Understanding that was waiving non-resident fees for football, softball, and our therapeutic camps. As we all know, that MOU combining all those activities together never came to fruition. However, one activity at a time, slowly but surely, we've made some significant progress. All right, so in June and July, we had an MOU that came before you for the therapeutic summer camps, Camp Joyful Souls and Camp Happy Hearts. And that one passed and was approved by both cities. And just recently in September, I came before you with another MOU for football so that NAFL could operate out of both cities and out of Bell Park and North Park. And that one was also approved. Leaving us with softball. And we're now to that next phase. And since that non-renewal of the original MOU, the softball program did take a little bit of a hit in registration, and they saw a bit of decline. And that's been a program that was historically heavily utilized by Milton residents. And when the non-resident fees came in and the travel requirements of the travel teams and the percentage of residents for those teams remained the same, those travel teams started kind of folding and going elsewhere to keep up. So, softball was a real big program that staff was looking to get something put together for. And what I have for your consideration this evening is an MOU that would include softball and youth lacrosse. What the MOU looks like is very similar. The wording of the MOU is essentially exactly the same, just subbing out different activities and sports. So Milton residents would have access to the Alpharetta youth softball program, paying the same rate, and as well as that, they are also going to get consideration as residents when teams are being formed on that travel side. So if it's a 12-kid team, a combination of 6, whether it's 5 Alpharetta, 1 Milton, or 5 Milton, 1 Alpharetta, they just need 6 combined in order to make it happen. Conversely, Alpharetta residents would also have access to our boys and girls lacrosse programs. This was put in to kind of even the deal a little bit here. And Alpharetta does utilize our lacrosse program. It's a much smaller. In fact, right now, there's really not a youth lacrosse program through the city of Alpharetta. I spoke with them today, and they're actually in conversations with a youth program that I'm looking to work with them on altogether. As I've shown you in all of my other MOU presentations, there is a little bit of fiscal impact. It's very minimal. And that's the loss of non-resident collection on those fees. As you can see here, over the last year of youth lacrosse, there was about $5,000, a little over $5,000 in non-resident fees that were collected. So that's approximately what we could look at, missing out on. However, the softball fees charged to Milton residents in that same time period was over $19,000. So, in this MOU, there will still be no transfer of fees back and forth between the two cities. That's all I've got, really. Any questions? Any discussion?
I have a question just to put that in perspective. Obviously, it's a budgetary, a fiscal impact. But for our citizens' sake, obviously, we're losing dollars coming from out of city. But it's safe to say, or fair to say, that our citizens are saving money with other programs, correct?
That is correct.
So it's obviously a benefit to our citizens just as well as it is to other cities.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask, do we have any public comment on this?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, I'll close the hearing and then any comments or Laura?
So in this MOU is for, does it run the calendar year or do we get?
Yes.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
has to be renewed every.
It's auto-renewed.
Okay.
The two cities get together and discuss, and if we're both in agreement, then it just continues on.
That's good.
Okay,
Good
anybody
deal.
else? I'll open up for motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 21-326.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion for approval from Councilmember Bentley with a second from Councilmember Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, Tammy, if you'll please call the next item. Thank you,
Thank you,
Tom.
Mayor. That item is consideration of a resolution to amend something previously adopted, to wit, to substitute a refined and clarified omnibus version of Chapter 4 and Appendix A that addresses Scrivener's errors, proposed modifications that were omitted on October the 18th, 2021, and otherwise to clean up errant language in the definitional sections to ensure the wit of the council is captured and for other miscellaneous purposes. It's agenda item number 21-327, Assistant City Manager, Ms. Bernadette Harville.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, we are here to discuss the omnibus version of the Chapter 4 and Appendix A edits that you will discuss on the 18th. We went through those updates and edits prepared by staff to ensure that Chapter 4 adequately expressed the visions of the council. And during that presentation, council made several independent motions that related to the prepared updates and edits. And the resolution before you tonight was created with the help of legal to ensure that all of those independent motions have been recorded as intended, as well as addressing an edit to one definition and edits to the hours section of the code that did not receive an independent motion on the night of the 18th. An unaltered motion to this agenda item will confirm the changes that already were addressed on the 18th, as well as these two additions I want to go over this evening. So here we have the definitions to the event facility. On the 18th, we discussed adding the term or festivals or events and outdoor-indoor facility. Staff's aim at adding this was to address one facility that had received this permit prior to the creation of the rural or agricultural events facility permit. With that additional language, this here would allow other locations to receive this right that were not intended. So this is outside the scope of being able to address it, this change. If we want to include that one property, additional language would need to be addressed, but that would have to be with a new agenda item, a new amendment, having a first presentation, and an unfinished business item. So as opposed to that, we're just going to suggest removing it altogether to not have unintended properties being able to get an alcohol license. In the hours and days of sale section, We went over section D at length. In the type, it had limited service restaurants. Technically, the term is limited food service restaurants throughout the rest of the ordinance, so the scrivener's error, just looking to fix that. And the motion that was made used the term permit. Our ordinance does delineate permits and licenses very differently, even though those terms are commonly used interchangeably, but we're asking to just put the word license instead of permit to be clear that we are carrying forth the licenses that were issued to the establishment prior to October 18th, 2021, not their permits. And then finally, sections E through I were discussed, but a separate motion was never made. So this evening, we're asking, should you choose to adopt those items, this new version would have all of the things we spoke about on the 18th. They were all included, and then in addition to the highlighted items here before you this evening. Now I'll leave it here since I think this is, the next slide just says questions and emotions. So I'm just going to leave it here so you can see what you're looking at approving.
I want you to be mindful that this omnibus solution we're taking is modest in scope. It's not intended to do different things to the code. It's intended to clarify and clean up what was, I think, admittedly a very sort of a challenging methodology by which we adopted all this stuff. So your rules and Robert's rules contemplate this. Plus, it allowed me to draft an agenda header with the words omnibus, scrivener, errant, and wit in it, which I enjoyed a great deal.
I mean, that was a day at the park for you, wasn't it, Counselor?
Listen, it's great.
A lot of strut there.
I'll be happy to take any questions should you have them, or we can.
Any questions on this? Okay.
Okay.
Mayor, I move that we approve agenda item number 21-3.
Let me ask 1 second for it. Do we have any public comment?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and now, Joe.
Mayor, I move that we approve agenda item number 21-327.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Longoria for approval with a second from Councilmember Cookerly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bernadette. That was short for you, Bernadette. I mean that in a complimentary way. Next are we got reports and presentations, and I do want to share one thing I've learned that I didn't know before. Apparently, Councilmember Cookerly is contemplating becoming a Girl Scout leader.
Oh, if we can do jumping jacks all night long. Council, is that, Mayor, is that my
That's a lead-in.
entree
That's
into
an
being able to give a little story, a little testimonial? So many of you probably thought the action Friday night was at the Braves Stadium. But I will assure you, it was right here in City Hall. So by way of Councilman Jameson, I had the pleasure of meeting and greeting local Girl Scout troop number 17423 that's led by Lindsay Yates. And Peyton, Councilman Jameson, what's your name? Sorry. Had arranged for the troop to take a tour. I was very excited about it. I was happy to do it. I think a lot of people know I have no life, but we'll move right over that on a Friday night. But anyway, so it was 16 young ladies in the 5th grade. And I was thinking about it, contemplating it, and I was like, oh man, I've got a tight day at work, really want to do something special. So I called the special woman who knows how to do things in a very special way. I called Tammy. Because our city clerk knows everything. And I explained to her, I want to do something different. I want to have hot mics. I want the girls to be able to sit up here, do a little, and she said, I got this. And I said, you do? She goes, leave it to me. Literally said, leave it to me. So I arrived about a half hour before the gals got here, and Susan Wilmoth and Stacy were both in here, and I brought them in. Tammy had a script that was phenomenal, and I could not be more appreciative. She had done a script as though there was a council meeting, and we had a Girl Scout at every one of your stations, okay? And we also had some that were going to participate. We had everything from the Pledge of Allegiance, which, we had roll call. But the thing that was interesting, council members, is that the person sitting in your chairs very, very, very much like you. The one that was playing me kind of wandered from time to time. That's me. Anyway, Councilman Jameson, let me tell you something. That young lady is ready to be mayor. I don't know if you are, but she's ready to be mayor. The young lady that played the mayor read her script. She took questions. So, and it was also great fun because we had members of I am going to speed this up. Okay, so we had members of these girls that were presenting as the community or staff reports. Tammy did a wonderful job. The consent agenda turned Milton into a Girl Scouts paradise. And then we had the fire chief present, and we had the police chief present, and we had to make an arrest, the police chief said, because a Cookie Monster stole cookies. We just had a great time. Well, lo and behold, speak their names, and who would just happen to walk in but the police chief and our own Stephen Krokoff. And Mr. Krokoff sees that someone is impersonating him. But it was really great because once the real people were here, these young ladies asked the greatest questions. I mean, they grilled the city manager. Have you ever fired anybody? Have you ever been shot at? Said the same thing to the police chief, and it but much more intricate questions than that. So thank you so much for the effort that you put in. Thank you, Peyton, Councilman Jameson. But I'm not thinking we need to do this every Friday night. But just a note to the troop and to you especially to honor you for all the work you did, because you did a lot of work.
It was
and I'm
a lot
sorry
of
that was
fun.
5 minutes, but thank you. It was great fun.
Thank you.
That's great. Great story. All right, anything else the council wants to, Paul?
Thanks, Joe. I just want to call out the two terrific experiences I had today, and one we were at this morning was, number one, the ribbon cutting at the preserve at Lackey Road. It was fantastic. It was attended by a variety of people who contributed to the creation of what is now going to be a wonderful asset to the city. Joe, I think you said it best. It was not really about what was happening today, but the tremendous legacy it will live on for the community, for everybody to enjoy going forward. It was wonderful to be able to honor the Wolf family this morning and see the joy in their faces for something that has come through as something that's been long worked on, and what a celebration that was. And then equally pleasurable today was I had the pleasure of joining Councilmember Bentley at the ribbon cutting at the homestead at Milton, the former Trophy Club golf course, and be able to see the outcome of the hard work of our Director of Community Development, Bob Buscemi's vision come to fruition today. Bob's been working on that for a long time. The incentive to look at large lots, to do the preservation of land in that way, to be sensitive to the community that's concerned about overdevelopment and yet still provide homesteads. It's going to be a marquee development that is every bit of Bob's vision and the vision that we've talked about for a very long time as a city. It was a great pleasure to have a chance to be there for the ribbon cutting, or actually the groundbreaking today for that. It's going to be a tremendous project.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Anybody else? I'll move on to staff. Communications, Greg.
Let's see. So I'll try to keep this short, so which I guess means I have like 5 hours, so it won't be like
Only 4.
let's see. And that's not mine. What else is it? Go. Okay, and I had to make a presentation just because my colleagues on public and fire are overachievers, so I try to be too. And one of the things I think, as you all know, my job is really, there's communications. I have some things that are specific to me, but I'm going to kind of go in that I work with pretty much every department every day, which kind of makes it fun for me, a little bit kind of all over the place. But one thing that I always try to stress that we try to be like proactive, informative, and showcase Milton as the best place to live and work and play, and to reflect that in our social media, all our communications. So that's something we try to kind of be a continuous thing. But we have done a few things that are kind of more strictly communications that you may have noticed last Friday, I think. on our webpage, we have a slight redesign, but the important thing of that, we used to have 2 entry points for something like a new item on the homepage, and now we have 9 because we have a rotating carousel of things. Our new guides are more focused. The idea is that we want people to come to our website to find out what's new. Before, they would just kind of find there and they could have to click on 7 different things. This is like one-click entry points, which kind of coming from my old life is really important. And just makes especially for desktop users, makes it much more efficient and effective, I think, too. There's other things we've done for communications. We have a drive to update our HOA contacts because we think HOAs are a big way to reach different people and different things. We're trying to drive up our email signups, so we've added to our email signature. And we're also going to do some other things coming up. Add small things like adding Facebook to our city letterhead. We have group specific. We're going to have an email going out hopefully soon to former Milton Country Club neighbors. And then we also have some great videos. There's one by Jen Hartwick. She's been doing a great job. And she has one really cool one at Lackey Road. I think tomorrow when we meet there, you can kind of, as if you're there. So if you haven't been to Lackey Road, you'll be there. You might get a little dizzy. That's just a warning that you'll make sense someday. Another thing too that's really exciting that kind of happened was announced today that hopefully my staff is going to welcome soon a new business engagement manager to work on not only kind of cohesive, not only communications, working out with the liaison with our businesses, but also to kind of focus on the branding, placemaking, and marketing things that are central to our comp plan. So we kind of work together so we're all on the same page, and I'm excited where that's going to lead. That said, so again, I mentioned I can't really talk about what we do without talking about other departments. So just for example, in police and fire, police, I'm pretty much in talk with them every day or so. Some they always have great events and any developments warranting public attention. Fire, I'm going to kind of lead up to Chief Bamus is going to talk a little bit. We have communications plans for our new Milton Fire Cares, which you'll hear about later. Also, we're going to have an outreach plan for the Milton Fire Corps, which he may also mention too. But there's these things, we don't just roll them out. We want to roll them out systematically and strategically. We're also going to, any day now, we're going to launch a fire Instagram page to kind of reach the under 40 set who kind of likes pretty pictures. So one thing too is the city manager's office, I have to speak to him because he's my boss, but but I would say one of the things we're stressing, and I really love this part, that the stressing the values, because we want every city employee to really live these 5 values, which we boil down to teamwork, rural heritage, service, ownership, and leadership. So that we're trying to embed that in everything we do in terms of what city employees do, and also how we portray that so that the people who get our messaging, whether it's on a city letterhead or email signatures, understand that's what we're all about. So that's why we're going to have some posters going to go up. They've already been printed. We're going to have more ordering around City Hall and common spaces in and the fire stations and police headquarters. And then we also, in our city letterhead, email signatures, that kind of thing. Hopefully we have organizing a strategic plan event, hopefully Friday, unless it's like 20 degrees. But it's another way to kind of build that teamwork and also kind of celebrate this kind of great things that are happening. Another thing is that I had the fortune of being on the strategic plan and comp plan, well, subcommittee, so I know them really well. But we're trying to really kind of do what we can to support different departments. So for example, we're going to have a DEI event hopefully next week for Diwali, because we have a great Indian population in Milton, and we also have some great people in the city who have to celebrate that. We want people to just be educated and learn and also eat great food. One thing that you guys passed today was the National Community Survey to restart that. We actually started that. It's a 5.5 month process. The last time cycle was started in mid-December. So we started it 6 weeks early so we could hopefully get the results back in time for the next budget cycle. Because we think it's important to have residents' input before we start writing the next budgets and things. And I'll try to go quickly, and luckily I can talk fast. So that's always good. One thing you hear a lot about City View. We're ready to roll that out. We're going to have a detailed communications plan and integrating that into the city websites for the next month or so. That's going to keep us busy. We shared news on same-day permitting and great stuff that's happening in all our departments, in addition to webpage updates and things about like the clubhouse, the former Milton Country Clubhouse, those kind of things. And we're also, this again, example, working with HR too, because when we have job openings, we have a communications plan for any job openings to reach different people in different places. So we're just trying to be creative out there to get our people's eyes in front of that kind of stuff too. Needless to say, Parks and Recreation has had a huge, and Tom McMatheline has been, and Emily and Thomas Rose have been very busy. We're going to try to have a quarterly newsletter that goes to HOAs so that people know about all the exciting things that are happening. We mentioned Lackey Road green space, but we have several other green spaces that hopefully will come in line in the next few months. So this is something that also I've been trying to focus on so people know that our green spaces exist and that they're here for the public's use. And I think that's important. Wall of Fame, if you remember that Bell Park, that's coming up soon. So we're kind of profiling different leaders there, the different new nominees. And then again, Providence Park, the Country Club, and Coxshore projects will keep people updated on those things. One thing I also want to give a shout out to Tom and his team for winning the District Agency of the Year Award, which is a great accomplishment. So I'm really proud of them. Lastly, but not least, Public Works, we share details with on public capital projects. Matt Ralph Falstrom, I once want to give a shout out to him because every time he's out of the work site, he gives me pictures and a little update, and we try to share that and people love those picture of a new boardwalk, a new pier, whatever else. They want to see, especially stuff they can't see. They deserve to do that. That's where their tax dollars are going, and it kind of builds excitement too. People got so many things. They're all positive comments. I can't wait to be there, and they know that we're spending not only on budget, on time, but we're also kind of making progress. We've also just got some word out about T-Splosh 2. We're Connect Milton, which is an app. We're working on upgrades with a whole bunch of other teams, and local road safety plan is also rolling up. And then lastly, pedestrian cyclist initiatives. Those are big in the comp plan, the trail plan, and that's something that's very much on our minds. So that is it for me. So thank you very much.
Okay, any questions? Thank you so much, Greg. All right, we'll move on next to fire.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I was just thinking, it's been almost a year since I started the process of joining the city of Milton. So actually 11/25 will be the day I got an offer from Steve. So it's kind of exciting. It's an honor and privilege to serve this community. It's been really exciting. So I want to share some updates with you from the fire rescue. Okay, so emergency response data, we're at 2,800 calls, about 15% increase year to date. About 50% of our calls are emergency medical services. The rest of them are fire and then other emergencies and non-emergency calls. That's a pretty significant increase for us. As far as community risk reduction data, reviews, inspections, we've conducted about 1,100 inspections. It's about 37% increase from 2020. About 167 plan reviews. That's about 46% increase from 2020. That's exciting time for this community when it comes to plans and development. Community interaction, we've provided about over 508 public education hours. 8% increase from 2020. I think we're going to see an increase in community engagement with the COVID kind of slowing down and us going out to the community more and more. From a virtual engagement, our social media engagement, post reach, about 18,000 post reach. And that include information that we give about the department, community risk reduction information that we share, public education. And about just in the last 28 days, we had about 9,900 post engagements specifically. I'd like to thank Greg and his team for helping us sort of communicate effectively with our community. So it's great. Another exciting thing for us, Milton Fire Cares Program deployment is scheduled for December 1st. This is our rebranded sort of community paramedicine. The mission is to bridge the gap between emergency care and everyday health needs. Focus will be better care, connecting our citizens with specific services. So we have a team, we selected a team. They're going through a national certification process. And then we'll be providing public health education, both for the community and the individual. We're going to partner with some community organizations, senior citizen community organizations, disability type organizations that help our disabled citizens. We're going to be conducting in-home health and safety assessments. We're hoping to partner with police, community outreach also to be part of that. We're going to work with our partners, the hospital, mainly North Fulton Hospital and Northside, to do discharge follow-ups for some of our citizens so we can save them unnecessary returns to the ER if we can be more proactive and reduce the cost. Obviously, a trip to the ER can be costly. So we want to try to get ahead of it, and then that way it reserves our resources for emergency response. Interactions with primary care, urgent care, and other medical services, just helping our citizens bridge the gap for care. And then we'll work with our partners, police department, any community service in the organization to provide us referrals if they need follow-up from our community paramedic program, the Mobile Integrated Health. By the way, tomorrow we're hosting a flu shot clinic for our city employees and their families. So community place 9 to 12. If you need a flu shot, you're welcome to attend. Other activities, I'm excited to announce that we are a registered agency with the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. That sort of opens the gate for us to embark on accreditation. It's probably going to be at least a 2 to 3 year process, but we'll see how we get through. There's a lot to get accomplished, but we have an accredited manager from our ranks. They attended the training, so we're just starting to work. The first step will be to develop a community risk assessment. And then from there, we'll go to a standard cover and then a self-assessment, and hopefully we can be an accredited agency. Other exciting news, the North Fulton Fire Chiefs, Jones Creek, Alpharetta, Roswell, and Sandy Springs and Milton, we finally are working together. We meet monthly, and we were able to produce an automatic aid agreement that it's sort of encompasses all the cities. I sent it today to the city attorney for review, and it'll be coming before you. So instead of having these small automatic aids with different cities, now we have an automatic aid agreement that will cover not only emergency response, but disaster response. We're hoping to put together an incident management team for North Fulton so that we can help each other out. We're working with dispatch so they can talk, so that we have seamless responses, and everything will be guided by the automatic vehicle locator satellite, meaning that the closest unit will respond no matter the jurisdictional boundaries. So I think that should enhance the services for our community. So we're working really, really close. And it affects also training. So we're consolidating our resources when it comes to providing training to all the firefighters. We're looking at hopefully joint academies, professional development, tapping into each other's resources and working together. We had an exciting new firefighters, 3 new firefighters. We had promotions, 3 captains, 3 driver engineers. So it's a good time in our department with that professional development and movement. So we thank you for your support. With that, if you have any questions,
Any questions for Chief? No, great. And I want to make a comment. I think Saturday night I was at a wedding, and the folks I were talking to, their son and daughter-in-law, they had a medical emergency and the night before, and they were just telling us about it, but then also mentioned that how great the firemen that got there, and the first responders and EMS and all that. So just kudos, just pass it on to your guys. So.
Thank you, sir. I will. Thank you.
I guess I'll say something too. Yesterday, when I was coming back from getting more candy at the Walmart, I had heard a lot of sirens and different things going on, and I pulled in, and you had 3 of the trucks that stopped traffic going into one of the cul-de-sacs, and they had a fire in one of the basements, and they were able to put that out and contain it. So I just swung by and said, "Is everything okay?" They said, "Yep, we had this and we took care of it." So very professional, kept the traffic going, but I know they got there pretty quickly too and handled it.
Thank you, sir. I'll pass it along.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, Sarah. He took most of your time, Sarah, but you got 2 minutes.
I think Greg closed my presentation too.
That's exciting.
You can just refer to his.
Yeah. I'm going to start with a few maintenance updates. The top right picture, communications captured our part-time seasonal employees that do our gravel road maintenance. So our October edition just wrapped up for our quarterly gravel road maintenance. And just a reminder, that is, we have an agreement with Roswell for the equipment that's shown here. That's a motor grader. So we have an agreement to quarterly use that equipment from Roswell as a rental fee. And then we have the part-time employees that provide the maintenance services. So that just wrapped up for the year. We have stormwater inspections that are underway. So this bottom middle map shows the zone that we're inspecting this year. And the green are the structures and pipes that have been completed. And we still have some of the purple to inspect, but this just gives you an idea of what we do each year. So in a 5-year period, we'll have looked at every structure and pipe in the city. On tonight's agenda, we had an item for street sweeping. Last year, we started a pilot program and did three sweeps. This year, we budgeted for quarterly to align with our quarterly gravel road maintenance. So we'll hit the same months with street sweeping as we do gravel roads. The map at the bottom right is those sections of curb miles that were referenced in that contract. And we also get the bridges along the paved roads. So we sweep the sides of those. Again, we're going to do that quarterly. And that's a 5-year renewable contract. And then generally we've completed 119 work orders in the month of October. And that ranged from signs to debris pickup, that sort of thing. So we document that through our work order system. Just wanted to update you on a few recent contracts. At the end of September, we approved a contract for Heath and Lineback engineers to help us with a bridge inspection and assessment for New Bullpen Road. That's the top right picture is that bridge deck surface. So before we proceeded with any repairs out there, we wanted an evaluation of the bridge and to recommend the treatment for repairing that deck rehabilitation. So that's been completed. The bridge is in good condition with the exception of the deck. So we have a specification to put out to bid to get that bridge deck repaired. And then the October 4th agenda, we had an agreement for pavement markings and raised pavement markings and then the thermoplastic striping on several of our roads. So that's preparing to begin. On the striping would be on portions of Freemanville, Bethany, and Thompson with the RPMs. Those are again, the raised pavement markings on the recent striping work that's happened on New Providence, Batesville, and Cogburn. The local road safety plan, the contract with that consultant was approved on October 18th. Last week, I held a kickoff on Teams with the consultant project manager. That consultant's going to be KCI, and they've recently worked with us on the 3 intersection concepts for Bethany, Providence, Freemanville Red, and Hopewell Red. So that's the same consultant that was selected for the local road safety plan. We've gotten a preliminary schedule, which I show here, that next week, or this coming Friday, we're going to have a partner kickoff. So that's with our police, fire, communications, public works. So we'll officially kick off with all those agencies as well. And we're looking to complete this plan in 4.5 to 5 months, so by mid-March. And then I wanted to hit a few of the contracts that were on tonight's agenda. First of all, the Crabapple PTV plan. So really that's going to look at golf carts in Crabapple and specifically the crossings of the state route. So not only Crabapple Road, but Birmingham Highway as well, where we can get some permitted crossings, and then just look at any updates to the ordinance and just creating a plan for safe use of golf carts in the Crabapple area. And I just referenced the overall form-based code area is kind of the limits of that study. Also on tonight's agenda was the Mayfield Road Sidewalk. So we developed preliminary plans. And so this contract tonight was to finalize those plans and establish any easements needed to construct the sidewalk. This is what the bottom graphic is. So the Lakeside Park is here. The blue is an existing trail, and the red is what we're going to be doing with this Mayfield Road Sidewalk project. It also is going to include two crossings that are shown in green. So that's going to run from Lakeside Park all the way to Freemanville Road on the north side of the road. And finally, wanted to wrap up with some pictures of the progress at former Milton Country Club. The top row, the left, and the middle show the path. First of all, just the clearing for it, and then once the recycled cart path was placed down, that bottom layer of gravel. And the top right is one of the locations where we removed the cart path between the houses, worked with the property owners on the materials to put back where sod would work better and where pine straw. So that's a picture of that kind of completed cart path removal. And the bottom three are the boardwalk. Again, when we relocated that to the northern pond to allow that emergency spillway to flow underneath the boardwalk, that came out very, very nicely and has already been constructed. Like any other questions or comments?
Questions for Sarah, Rick?
I think thank you for the visual. I mean, that was great to see what they're doing with that trail. I'm excited for that to actually open up too. Can you give us an update on McGinnis Ferry, the exchange that's there? I know the state GDOT is looking at doing on Georgia 400, and then also any update on Morris Road widening?
Sure. McGinnis Ferry, the notice to proceed was issued in October to the contractor on that. I believe the contractor's C.W. Matthews. And so that is a GDOT project out of their District 1 office. We're actually in District 7 because of the county line. So the District 1 indicated that they issued the notice to proceed and the contractor was getting all the paperwork they needed to prepare to mobilize and start clearing. I think
idea
it's
when they're actually going to be doing. I saw barrels went up.
Okay.
On Milton's side, there were all barrels leading up to the overpass.
They indicated it should start with clearing and utility relocation. That's always the first couple steps. So they'll do some minimal clearing to get the utilities going, and so it should be starting very soon. And Morris Road, a couple meetings ago, we approved an agreement for the final design. So we got preliminary plans submitted and held a plan review of those, walked the site, and the consultants working on making those changes and really finalizing the design. We hope to have right-of-way plans in the next month or two. And so then we'll begin our right-of-way evaluation while final designs are finishing up.
Okay, anything else? All right, well, then that'll conclude our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.